Hello everybody and welcome back to What the Health with Dr. L. Today I am more than excited to have the great Linda Goldman with me. She's an author among so many other amazing things she has done in this life and probably past lives as well. Linda will share with us today some insights as to what life is all about. Is it really possible to lead a happy life despite circumstances? She will also give us some insights as to her experience with regression analysis and her past life experiences. Linda, I'm so happy to be with you, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. Dr. L is so great. When he walked into our house, I thought a kindred spirit. And so as our minds started to unfold, we realized that we had parallel and synchronous interests in how we feel and see the universe.
Instinctual,
And so, he asked me, can you please talk about how you can have a happy life?
Absolutely, because this can help so many people out there, really struggling with this question, what life is really all about. Is it really, are we meant to be happy in this life, or life is meant to be a test for us? Okay, and also the question of past life experiences. You have had a first-hand experience with one of your past lives when you did regression analysis, and this could be very, very, it's an authentic experience you can share with us. By the way, Linda is an author, is a great author, as I have mentioned, and she has a great book. Maybe she can mention some of her books to us. But please go ahead and share with us, from your view, from your life experience, what life is really all about, and is it possible to be happy in this life?
It's quite a question, because I think there, of course, is a possibility of happiness if we could all learn to not live in the past, which only creates depression, or live in the future, which only creates anxiety, but live in the present. And I know that Tolstoy did a little book for children where it was called 3 Wishes. And the boy was searching for life. And at the end of the story, the punchline to the storyline is, what's the most important person? The person that's with you. What's the most important time? The time is now. And what's the most important thing to do? Help that person that's with you whenever you can.
That's so beautiful. So it's the person.
It's the person
that's with you, the time you're in, not the past, not the future, and what you can to help the next person, the person that is with you.
Because we're all, I believe that we're here on planet Earth to grow our hearts. And that I love this idea of what liberty and equality is, because it puts the United States in a spiritual bent to think of liberty as being liberated from the past and from our karma, from old associations, so we can be free. And equality, that everyone on the planet has their own unique relationship with divinity or God or whatever they believe in. And that is a leveler in making all of us equal. And so I do believe in the concept of heaven on earth if we can grow ourselves up to the point where we see everyone as us. We see the whole global unity as our family. And in that way, why would there be suffering? Because we would want to share the way we share with our families. And so, the concept of suffering is interesting. Interesting. Dr. L mentioned that I authored some books on grief and loss. And the main books are on grief and loss in children. One's called Life and Loss, A Guide to Help Grieving Children. But what I found working with grief and suffering is that it's actually a very sacred place for growth. And that the more you can sit with someone in their suffering, the more joy, going back to your question, they can feel within themselves in their hearts.
Interesting. So joy comes from giving. Joy comes from being there for somebody, if you really mean it.
And also it comes from going into the deepest places within ourselves. And not denying what pain we might be going through in order to release it and let it go.
Interesting. So it's you do not advise people to just try to hide their pain or try to ignore it. Embrace it and express it in a way that frees you.
Exactly.
But how do you do that? How do you?
Well, I believe that you have to have a person, one person, that's willing to say, I understand, having the true concept of empathy.
Right.
And then I find, even with grief work, people will come in, they'll give me the saddest things they have, this is so important to me, but once they can release it, they forget that they brought it, because it's that process of releasing our baggage, our grief, whatever it is.
All this negative energy that is trapped in us.
That's right.
Inside us. So we need to find an empathic person to just listen to us and at least acknowledge what we are sharing with them.
Just acknowledge.
Without judging
judgment.
whatever we might be experiencing.
Especially with children, because they're so sensitive.
Right.
And they're so right on and target with their feelings that they need to have that sacred space where it's okay to think and feel without anybody judging them for it. And so, happiness is sort of a continuum.
Okay. So it's not an end.
It's not an end. It's a state of being.
It's a state of being.
And when we can be in that happiness, it's really great. And as you mentioned, negative feelings. I think through my life experience with Michael, my husband for 40 years, we find the more positive that we can be,
beautiful,
the happier our life is. So this
stuff. So it's a process.
It's a process. It's a lifelong process. And like people say, well, how come you and Michael, how have you had such a good marriage for 40 years? And well, we've gone through a lot together.
Rare. That's very rare.
We've gone through a lot of pain together. And we always come back, it's a miracle, to the love. And what I've come to realize about Michael, because we can all have these things we want from another person that we think will make us happy.
Right.
But the overall way that I feel loved by him, when I remember that, is far greater than the personality traits.
Right.
And I think when we remember that, again, we have that shot at living in a happier state.
Right.
So this is just like a brief idea of how I feel, but I could.
No, that's beautiful. That's
and
very
also, I've been thinking, and I mentioned to Mike that I feel like consciousness and love are synonymous, because the more loving that we can be, the more absolutely conscious we are.
So that raises our consciousness, awareness.
Yes.
It raises our, metaphysical or spiritual awareness and makes us more aligned with who we are.
Very much more aligned.
Despite our human limitations.
Despite those big human, which I of course have. Compassion is the road.
Compassion is the road.
Because the more compassionate we can be, the more we're open to holding more.
The more receptive. The more receptive and the more I would say present we would be. And that starts with ourselves as well.
And it ends with ourselves.
It starts and ends with ourselves.
It's amazing.
That's so beautiful. We have a few,
I haven't forgotten.
A few minutes left. So why don't you also share with us your personal experience with regression analysis and past life? And this is a concept that is gaining more evidence these days. But it's really it's great to have you talk about this from a first-hand experience.
Well, the reason why I was open to that is that I think I was born believing in reincarnation.
Okay.
And so I believe that we've had so many lifetimes in order to grow our soul. And that we actually keep experiencing these lifetimes, and so we know what it feels like. We have the knowledge of what it feels like with so many life experiences that we're growing our souls up. So I had
it's a soul journey.
It's a soul journey, and it's continuous.
It's continuous.
So that's how I feel.
Even beyond this life dimension.
Yeah.
Even beyond this life dimension.
Our life energy goes somewhere. Where does it go? And there's no facts about it that I can give to the people that we're talking to, but I can just say that I feel like I know there's more.
And what is the purpose of this journey, of this spiritual growth, of this? Why do we need it?
I think the purpose, my own purpose, is to align with divinity as much as I can.
Okay.
And so the greater I can become on my journey
Mm-hmm.
to grow my soul,
Mm-hmm.
the more I can become aligned with divinity in the universe. And the more we all can, because
Yeah.
we're all, I feel, I don't know, but I feel
Yeah.
that we're all going in the same place.
Right. We are all in the same path.
It's a fabulous mechanical system
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
Yeah.
so this led me to Dr. Saletta Long because,
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to experience it. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but I think she was the teacher for the man that wrote Many Lives, Many...
Yeah, Dr. Brian Weiss.
Dr.
Yeah, many
Brian
lives,
Weiss.
Yeah, many masters.
And when I went to her house, the minute I said hello,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I knew her forever. And
Wow.
for some reason, I just gave myself over to trust.
Yeah.
And she did this regression,
Uh-huh.
and she just said to go back and did different things. And then it was so real
Uh-huh.
that if I talk about it, I see it in front of me.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful
Yeah.
that I didn't tell a soul I did this for 3 months
Yeah.
because I didn't want to water down
Yeah.
the immensity of the experience.
Right.
And so what I saw, I was a peasant girl.
Okay.
I had like sandals on and, you know, I was
Yeah.
just a young girl.
Yeah.
And there was 3 figures, a really heavy person with real blue eyes
Uh-huh.
that was just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And then a young person that was very rough and, I don't know, just... I don't feel very matured, and that was another person. And then there was another man over here. And they all seem to be archetypes of energy that surrounded me in this lifetime.
I see.
And then one of the experiences was with this man. And he was arguing with me about something, and by mistake, he threw me on the floor, and I died. I could see this happening.
Interesting.
And I could see the man crying.
Yeah.
And I was saying to myself from where I was seeing it, you don't need to cry because I'm here.
Yeah.
And that realization that I'm here stays with me.
Interesting. Interesting. And how did that impact your present life when you had this experience? Did you felt more at ease? Did you felt more safe? What kind of feelings that generated within you?
It made me feel wonderful.
Okay.
It made me feel like life was ongoing.
Okay.
And that we're here.
Yeah.
Like, where do we go? We're
Yeah.
here. I can't
Yeah.
explain it. I don't
Yeah.
know enough. I'm not
Yeah.
advanced enough.
Yeah.
But it just, and then in my work, you know, so many times kids will say, you know, I felt like I saw my mother came, or I
Yeah.
felt like my dad came.
Yeah, yeah.
And people will go, oh, no, you know,
Right.
but I'll go, tell me about
Yeah.
it, because how do we know? So I
Right.
feel like it
Yeah.
influenced my work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also with the same vein, when I work with adults and they've had partners die, they still have a relationship with that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And so it's ongoing.
A metaphysical or spiritual
Yeah.
relationship,
Yeah.
but it's true. And that also, you know, some glimpses from past lives or, you know, experiences with other souls can come through dreams, right?
Absolutely.
Dreams and maybe visions and, you know, parts of our imagination. Because, you know, sometimes we just, oftentimes we dismiss imagination as something that is, you know, that has no role in our life, but it might actually be the source of, you know, a lot of things.
A lot of things. And it may not be our quote imagination.
Yeah.
It may be
Yeah.
another reality that we're tapping into.
Parallel reality.
A parallel reality, and it may be you know, Einstein said something to the effect that there is no time and space.
Right. Yeah, it's all relative.
It's
yeah.
that is only a man-made structure that we've
Right.
created, and so
Yeah, you know,
what isn't it?
so a man-made structure means that time is not linear.
Not linear.
Everything that's happened, there is no past, there is no present, there is no future. Everything that's happening is happening at the same time. This is just the linearity of time is a man-made construct to fit,
Right.
you know, our underdeveloped
It's
brain.
not finite.
Yeah.
But we
it's
want to
not.
control everything, you know.
Right.
But and it helps us to get through the day.
Yeah, this is way more advanced beyond
Oh, I'm sorry.
beyond the
But
topic of this.
But it serves the topic of imagination,
Yeah.
because you know.
So imagination is good.
Imagination is not only good.
It's healthy.
It's a guide.
We need it.
It's
a
a
guide.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like Einstein said, I could have studied many facts, but when I swam, I had my imagination,
Right.
so-called, come and
Yes.
give me the answer.
Right.
So where does that come from?
Yeah, and that's something we are really lacking, because you know Einstein would have loved for us to teach kids to expand on their imagination, honor their imagination, and embrace it, instead of just being so attached to linear thinking, which has to do with logic and the mechanics of life. Nothing wrong with that, but that shouldn't be the focus. That should not be the focus.
He said, I'm a happy person because I no longer care what people think. I no longer want anything from anyone. And,
I'm free.
I'm free.
I'm detached.
I'm detached.
Detached from all expectations. I am here and now, and I embrace all of it.
And that takes a really involved soul, because
Yeah.
that means that you've really worked through your ego, which
Yes.
most people haven't
Yeah.
finished that last piece.
It's
of
okay
ego.
to have an ego. We all need an
We all
ego,
need it.
but we need a tamed ego. Tamed ego.
That's
Not
right.
a wild ego.
We need to know what our ego is,
Right.
rather than our ego become us.
Befriend our ego.
Befriend our ego.
And I'm so happy, you know, to just experience this
Yeah.
wonderful energy with you. It was instant the first time I saw you. I'm sure we were.
I'm sure
and
we
some
were
of,
like
and some of
great friends.
but at least, you know, we are in this present life, and you
Yeah.
know there is a great connection. Thank you so much for
Oh, you're
sharing
welcome.
some of your deepest secrets as to your experience with life. This is, you know, this make a big difference in a lot of people's lives out there. Thank you for taking the time to do this, and we love you, and we are
And
so
we
happy
love
to
you,
have you.
Dr. Evans.
Thank you.